the Serpo Luca series. I'm Riyad.
I am Will. Hello.
And where are we today?
At my favorite new restaurant, Springwood, in beautiful Whitby, Ontario.
And today we have Matt and Jasmine. And we're going to be asking a few questions about their new business venture.
Question number, hello, and thank you. What is your story? How did you guys get here?
We were both born and raised in Whitby, and we met at a local restaurant when we were in our late teens.
Wow.
And I've always worked in
What restaurant?
Hot Rocks.
I want to ask that question.
Hot Rocks, yes.
Which my mom has actually worked at for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And I worked there from the ages of 13 to 22, and we met there when I was 19 and Matt was 20. I've only ever worked in the front of house of the restaurant, and Matt has only ever worked in the back of house of restaurants. It's been our only career our whole lives, basically. So that was the beginning of our time together. As my mom would say, she set us up.
The matchmaker.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so what did you, so you met, at Hot Rocks when you guys were teenagers, or early 20s, and then what happened, like how did you get to here?
So
Springwood.
Ultimately we decided when we really wanted to pursue this kind of as a career, we moved to Toronto. We ended up working there for about 12, 13 years, living there for 9. But ultimately with the goal to come back and open up something in Whitby. So my first job in Toronto, 2008, I was telling people back then, one day we're coming back to Whitby and we're going to have our own place. We were lucky enough to buy a home in 2019, and we've been kind of looking for a space ever since. And the opportunity to come here came out last year, and so we moved into this space January 1st.
Wow. Okay.
So what sets you apart from other restaurants?
I just think it's our dedication to hospitality. It's our restaurant's about telling stories. It's about sharing the stories of the farmers and the purveyors that we have an opportunity to work with. And so for us, it's just about showcasing them in a comfortable atmosphere that is, not fine dining. We like to call it casual elegance.
And our tagline is "Come over for dinner," because we want people to feel as though they're just coming into our own home. And if you were at our house, you'd be eating the same food, drinking the same beverages, and listening to the same music, being served by the same person.
Was it hard to create something like this that's mainly based in Toronto usually, coming to Durham region opening it?
There was definitely a risk. We definitely had some people telling us that we're crazy. But there's a risk to any business, and ultimately I just think that if people come here and they experience it, they'll understand that it's genuine and we're not putting anything on. This is us. We truly care about the farmers and purveyors that we work with. We truly care about our staff, and hopefully that showcases through the experience that you get when you come to the Springwood.
Then what are some of your local favorite businesses?
So, for us, there's definitely a few established businesses that we love. Some of the old classics, your Melanie Pringles, T&D's. We went there for breakfast this morning. Hot Rocks.
My jam back in the
But, there's also the wave of newer businesses that kind of pave the path for places like us to open. So, you have you have Surf, you have Lloyd's Lunchbox. What else?
Crave Donuts
Crave
as
Donuts.
well.
And so, it's we're just excited to be a part of kind of the new chapter in Whitby's dining scene.
What's the toughest part of, starting a business like this in Whitby?
The toughest part, I would say, for us was mainly the build out of the space. I think we used to say, once we are back in our roles, Matt's cooking and I'm serving, is where we really just find our groove and hit our element. The lead up, I would say, was the most difficult thing for us. We've never torn apart an entire space and had contractors and electricians and plumbers all in here, sometimes on the same day, all trying to get things accomplished, scheduling things out. I think that was probably in conjunction, getting our permits and things like that, was probably some of the biggest hurdles that we encountered. But again, we tried to work with local, entrepreneurs, young contractors, people that we knew, and just people who are similar to us to support their small business as well.
Tell us a little bit about the renos, the benches. What was the thought pattern behind that?
So it's definitely an amalgamation of all the different styles that we like. As you can tell, there's a lot of things to look at. Jasmine and I would consider ourselves maximalists. Those benches are church pews out of the United Church in Port Hope. All of the tables were built by our contractor. They're just made out of butcher's block. But everything in this restaurant kind of has a story, whether it's the old pictures or the kind of vintage tchotchkes out of our basement. You know, it's meant to invoke the feeling of being in someone's home. And, you know, there's no reason why you can't feel relaxed and feel comfortable in somebody's home while being served high quality food and drink.
So what's the story behind the receipt? I love how you do it.
Yeah. You want to take this one?
So years ago, we ate at a restaurant in San Francisco. It's called Lazy Bear, an amazing fine dining experience, a tasting menu where you started off with your appetizers on like a secondary floor overlooking the dining room. And a whole other seating is having their experience, and then basically once they've left, you watch the team work seamlessly together to reset the room. The kitchen is fully open, you're allowed to go up and talk to the chefs. It was just one of those experiences that like is hard to match in people who love dining out lives. We talk about it still to this day, and I think a lot of the things we do here are amalgamations of restaurants we've ate at. So the book itself was the way that Lazy Bear presented the bill to the table in an old library book in the card slot in the back, and just that was something that was just such an interesting little touch that we decided that has to come with us one day into our own space and take our own little spin on it, which is a lot of the books are just from, like Matt said, and as well as a lot of the tchotchkes and old vintage touches are just out of our own home because we love old things.
So you guys opened up in
May 25th.
May 25th. What's the biggest surprise that you guys have experienced now being open for 5 months?
I think the biggest surprise for us has been not only the warm welcome that we received into the community, but just people's willingness to kind of let us take the wheel. We find the best way to experience the Springwood is to do what we call our come over for dinner menu. It's 3 different price points. We send you food, we course it out. You can do blind or you can find out ahead of time. But ultimately, when Jasmine and I go out to eat, our biggest kind of thing that we run into is we can never decide what to order. It's like, I want to try this, I want to try this, I want to try this. And ultimately we end up ordering way too much food. And so this is kind of a way to experience the Springwood the way that we think you should. You'll get a mix of, the greatest hits, if you will, but you'll get to try a bit of everything. It'll be just enough food. You basically tell us what you want to drink and we'll take care of the rest. Just like you would if you were coming over to our house for dinner. You wouldn't get a menu.
True.
You'd sit down, we'd say, okay, you want red or white wine, and this is what we're eating. And put it down in the middle, everybody takes the bit to their plate, and so we've just kind of restaurant-ified.
You have to.
I've never tried. I'm a control freak, so I like knowing what I order. But next time I'm here, I will do it.
My first time in, that's what I did.
But the only rule is that the whole table has to do it.
The whole table has to do it. That's the easiest way. But
we'll come back together.
Yes, 100%.
it allows for both sides. If you know what you want and you're confident in doing it, then go ahead. But a lot of times people come in and the design and the style of the menu isn't your traditional appetizer, entree, dessert, and sometimes it's just easier to say, well, just let us take care of it. You don't have to make any decisions. We'll set you up. What are you looking to spend? Tell us if there's anything you don't want to try, if there's anything you do want to try, and the menus are customizable in that way. They're preset in a template, but it doesn't mean we can't swap out a dish here and there for allergies or dietary restrictions.
And really, the tasting menu itself was like a last-minute addition. We added it, days before we were planning to open, and just thought, maybe some people would be interested in this.
Awesome. Now, my biggest thing with this place, now I've been to, as you can tell, I've been to many restaurants in my 45 years on this planet. It's the flavors. How do you do it? How do you come up with such, I never thought I like chimichurri and a steak until I came here and go, what is this insaneness? And how do you come up with the concept for flavors?
So that most likely comes from the fact that we both have worked in a mix of different styles of restaurants, whether it be, Canadian, French, Middle Eastern, but ultimately it's exactly that, is we are a Canadian restaurant, and Canada, as you know, is a melting pot of different people from other places. And so if we were just a French restaurant or just a Spanish restaurant, you kind of get pigeonholed into a certain flavor profile. Whereas if we just make a commitment to say that only our proteins and produce are going to come from Canada, then it allows us to kind of work in other areas. So we can take a dish that has flavor profiles from Japan or Italy or Spain and kind of blend them with local produce. And to me, there's nothing more Canadian than that, right? It's supporting local farms, local, proteins or whatever it is, and then taking, something like za'atar or, a different kind of spice that maybe people aren't really expecting, and blending the two. To us, that's Canadian cuisine, and that's kind of what you can expect from us, because we do get that question a lot. You're a Canadian restaurant, what is that, like poutine?
Yeah, before we opened, we had a lot of people, is there going to be moose on the menu and things like that? And yeah, questions like that. I would also say that my greatest joy so far is that in all the years that I've been with Matt as a partner, and he's been a head chef in restaurants, he's always cooked his version of food that is kind of referenced through someone else's lens. So, he's worked in Mediterranean cuisine. He's done his style, but he's never truly been able to do him as a chef, just showcasing exactly what he loves to do. So it's a great joy for me to see him, be able to just be authentically himself as chef, and and that the reception that people are giving towards the food. I always joke, like, I have no, I can't take any credit for it, but I guess the credit I can take is that over the years I've just, been trying to support him in keeping up his passion, because sometimes it's hard when you have to, put your passion in the frame of reference of somebody else's business. And obviously that's what he did as a good employee of all the places he's ever worked, but it's just nice to be able to see him be authentic.
Can you mention where you worked in the past? Or is that
yeah, sure. So we both have worked in a handful of restaurants. So once we left Whitby, I worked at Red's, I worked at Canoe, I worked at Nota Bene, at the Chase, Montecito, Constantine. Jasmine worked at...
I also worked at Red's. I also worked at the Chase. Matt was at the flagship Chase on the top floor of the building, and I was at the Chase Fish and Oyster. I also worked for Momofuku, both at Shoto and Kojin. I also worked at Rosalinda and Il Covo, and my last job prior to here, once we had moved back to Whitby, was at the Brock House.
So what's your favorite dish?
Yes.
What's your favorite? Not necessarily the restaurant. Your favorite dish that Matt cooks.
Oh, that's hard. That's a difficult
That's a tough question.
I know the answer.
Do you?
Her favorite dish is a dish that I've never been able to cook for her.
Quite the way.
Her favorite dish is chicken marsala, but the one time that I tried to make it for her, she's like, it's not as good.
I think it was more of like, how things are tied into a time and a place in your life.
I tried to make it too fancy.
Yeah.
She just wanted simple mashed potato, chicken, marsala sauce.
Honestly, like, I can think of one experience in our whole relationship where he cooked me something and we were both like, this is not good. And that was more of it was a very hard dish to make, and we were doing it in like 100-degree house at the time.
Shrimp raviolis.
So that didn't work out very well. Honestly, it's so hard to say because we had so many good, mid-COVID. We did a lot of cooking over COVID.
How about that white asparagus salad?
Oh, yes. That was delicious. That was when we were traveling to France together, and we were staying at, but again, a time and a place thing. We were staying at our aunt's house in the south of France with the mountains in the background and a lovely, patio afternoon together.
That was a good dish.
It's delicious.
So what's your favorite dish? It doesn't have to be fancy. Just
my favorite dish to make, I generally like to cook things over live fire, whether it's grilling meats or vegetables in the summer, get a live fire barbecue. But my favorite dish to eat is steak tartare. Anytime I go to a restaurant, they have steak tartare.
Oh, yes, you mentioned.
Guilty pleasure, though, fried calamari. I don't care if it's the worst bar. I don't know if it's the worst bar, and I know it's frozen, and they don't sell it ever. Like, if they have fried calamari, I'm ordering it. And I
order every. I'm the same way.
I cannot. It used to be spinach dip. I was a spinach dip guy for years. Like, if they had a spinach dip, and now if you got fried calamari, I'm coming for it.
And last question, because I wrote it down. You had a goal 15 years ago to open up your own restaurant. So if you met a young person today who was 20, how can they get to where you are now?
All I'd say, there's no substitute for hard work.
True.
But, for this business specifically, you have to love it. You have to want to do this. You're never going to become a millionaire unless you sell your soul. But if you want to do this, you just have to genuinely love hospitality. For me, the open kitchen was a big part of the concept because there's nothing better than being able to interact with guests who are having a good time, or to be there to try to mitigate something right away where a guest isn't having a good time. It's about being hospitable. It's about anticipating your guests' needs. Come over for dinner. We were always the house to host the party, not go to a party.
Sure.
Because we just love hosting and being hospitable, and that's what this industry is all about. So, if you want to break into the restaurant industry, being an owner is tough, and I've only been one for 6 months. But a lifetime in this industry, pushing 32 years. I've worked in kitchens now, or 22 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're only 35.
22 years I worked in kitchens now. I've seen a lot, and I feel like the restaurants that I've seen that haven't been successful is there's a disingenuine nature about it, where they're only in it to make money, or they're only in it to, get famous or grow their brand. Like for us, I don't care if I ever get famous. We don't care if we get rich. Sure, we need to sustain our lives. We're not, this is a business. It has to be profitable, but we're in it to make people happy. When I see the look on someone's face when they're eating the food and they're genuinely having a good time, or, I had one of those moments the other night where Jasmine was serving here, our other server, Sarah, who's amazing, was serving this other table, and they were both confidently speaking about dishes at a table, and you could see the guests were clinking glasses and just having a good time, and there was that like buzz in the room of, that white noise where the music and the sound of people eating and all just becomes like that same frequency. And that was it. That was the moment where it was like, if I can have one of these moments a week, it makes up for all the craziness of the 100-hour work week and the toilet breaking and this guy doesn't show up and your delivery's late, and all the crazy things that happen. Like, you have to just be able to roll with the punches, and if you can find the joy in those little moments, then this is the best job, and there is no recreating that feeling. It's like what they call like a runner's high.
Yes.
When people run to the point where you're so tired, but then eventually you get that. There's got to be some kind of service high as well, where it's like it's so busy and it's so chaotic, but you ride the line and you nail it, and everybody's happy, and at the end of the night, you all cheers a beer and you go, wow, that was great. And then it's like that feeling is hard to recreate. And so I think that's the feeling that you get addicted to, and you want to just keep doing that over and over.
I've always equated it a little bit like going into battle with your team, and that everybody, like a good soldier has the back of their other soldier. And if you find, and we've been lucky enough, and I think this is an important lesson for young people, is to surround yourself with people who are just as passionate and care just as much about the industry as you do. And we have been so lucky to find a team of people who we hire not necessarily for skill level, but for people who bought into the idea of what we wanted to do here.
Yep.
And when you have a busy night that was difficult, but that every guest left, seeing the value in what our services are here, and seeing that little shoulder dance that some people do when they've had that first bite, like it's an actual thing. And even though, like Matt said, you leave a long work week and you're exhausted, but like that end of the night, that energy does not go away.
That's true.
You're up till 2 or 3 in the morning just riding a bit of a high of like, wow, like we killed it tonight, and everybody came together. And again, with the open kitchen concept is like, we want the chefs and the cooks on the line to engage with the people at the bar and go up to tables and drop off plates and amuse bouches and things like that, because we're not servers and cooks and front of house and back of house. We are one team working towards a common goal, which is to give the best hospitality and best experience, because people come to us and put their trust in us to spend their very hard-earned money, and there's nothing worse than spending money that you felt you didn't get any value from.
Well, also too, then you realize that it's not just us. I might be the face of this restaurant, but without my team, I'm nothing. I can have all these amazing ideas, but I can't do everything myself. If I can't execute all the things. So you see, it takes a team of people, and they're
Right.
just as important, if not more important than us. And so that means a lot too, to see when you look in the kitchen, you know, there's 4 of us. It's not just me magically churning out everything, you know, there's a team of people, and there's even more people in the back that you don't see, you know, our dishwashers and our support staff, and, you know, it takes a lot of people, and, you know.
And you'll notice too at the bottom of our menu, we always list all of our team
Every single
members'
person's name
names,
is on the menu.
starting with our dishwashers and ending with us, because the dishwashing is the most thankless, hardest job in the industry, and it often gets looked at as like something that just teenagers do, or something that, you know, but like our team, both our girls back there, Sandeep and Taryn, are some of the hardest working people like I've ever encountered.
Yeah, the restaurant's not about us. It's not about inflating our ego. It's about, you know, it's about supporting the local community. It's about showcasing the amazing work that the farmers and purveyors that we work with do, and it's about giving a place where people that live locally can come and work and be proud to work here and say, you know, where I work at the Springwood, and, you know, I'm a dedicated and, you know, part of the team, and we just love that. So without our team, the Springwood is nothing.
Thank you again for.
Thank you guys, honestly.
Thank you so much.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right.
And you got to come here. You got to bring the family. Honestly, the best. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
This is great.
Have a good